Welcome back, my seekers of the unknown and lovers of the uncomfortably real. You're tuned in to Whistlebrew, the only place where we just don't sip the tea. We squeeze every drop of truth, strain it for the facts, and serve it piping hot, with enough side of sass sharp enough to even make your grandma gasp. Now grab your drink, tea, coffee, or whatever emotional lifeline you're clinging to today. Get comfortable and lean in close. Because I need to tell you about a place I learned about recently. And the deeper I went, the worse it got. Now, I'm going to mispronounce words. I apologize. I'm doing my best. Just giving you all a heads up. This place is called Edinburgh Manor. And before anyone gets loud in the comments, yes, it's in Scotch Grove, Iowa, not Edna, Iowa. Say it wrong and locals will correct you immediately and with feeling. Today, Edinburgh Manor is a paranormal tourist attraction. Ghost hunters love it, investigators swear by it. People leave glowing reviews about shadow figures, voices, and doors slamming. But that's not where the story starts. It starts in 1850. But from 1850 to 1910, before there were hallways, before there were padded rooms, before anyone ever whispered the word haunted, the land operated as a county poor farm. And if that phrase sounds quaint, let me fix that, please. Poor farms were not charities. They were containment systems. Counties used them to house anyone who didn't fit neatly into society. The elderly, the disabled, the mentally ill, the chronically sick, widows, orphans, people with addictions, and anyone without family willing to take them in. In official county records, residents were constantly referred to as inmates. Not patients, not residents, but inmates. Annual reports describe them as dependents, chargers, or county burdens. That language mattered. It stripped people of dignity and justified whatever came next. If an inmate was physically able, they were required to work. Farm labor wasn't optional. It was the cost of survival. Men, women, and sometimes children labored long days, planting, harvesting, tending livestock, and maintaining the property. With proper tools, minimal rest, and no safety protocols. This wasn't rehabilitation. This was exploitation. The county profited from inmate labor, selling livestock and produce, while the people doing the work remained unpaid, underfed, and confined. That money went back to the county, not to the residents themselves. Housing was crude. Overcrowding was constant. Medical care was scarce. Mental illness was feared and punished, not treated. Diseases like tuberculosis, pneumonia, influenza, and dysentery spread easily, and injuries often went untreated, and people died. Historical estimates indicate more than 150 deaths on the poor farm property between 1850 and 1910, many buried where they fell. Many death records listed vague causes like decline or natural causes. Phrases that often concealed death brought on by malnutrition, exposure, exhaustion, neglect, and disease. When inmates died without family, they were buried on the property in a potter's field. No name, no headstone. Sometimes just a number, if they were lucky to get that. County burial logs often conflicted with death records. Some names appeared without graves, some graves existed without names. Which brings us to something deeply unsettling. The ones with no names. These people history didn't bother remembering. An elderly woman listed as female, age unknown. A man marked laborer, no recollection. No, let me get that right. A man marked a laborer, no relations. A child recorded simply as county ward. I mean, come on, they deserve more than this. Poor farm residents were among the most invisible people in society. Losing track of someone wasn't scandalous, it was freaking expected. People didn't just die here, they disappeared. No markers to say they lived, no records to say they mattered, no one left to ask where they went. And when the county decided to monitorize in the early 1900s, they didn't move the cemetery. They didn't memorialize the dead. They didn't even acknowledge them. They built Edinburgh Manor directly on top of the land that held them. Same soil, same suffering, new walls. If trauma leaves an imprint, if injustice echoes, then this place didn't become haunted. It was built freaking haunted. And every hallway, every stairwell, every basement wall was laid on top of pain that never got acknowledged, never got justice, and never got remembered. Edinburgh Manor, home care and asylum, was basically going on from 1910 to 2010. When Edinburgh Manor was constructed between 1910 or 1911, the records are kind of misconstrued. It was taunted in a modern replacement for the old poor farm. A place to care for the elderly and those deemed incurably insane. But modern did not mean compassionate. The manor housed the same population, the elderly, the disabled, the mentally ill. Labels like incurably insane were common, reflecting a time when understanding was limited and patience was thinner. In the early decades, life in the manor resembled institutional routines more than therapeutic care. Institutional wardrooms, heavy doors that banged without warning, and staff doing their best in understaffed conditions. Mental health care relied heavily on physical restraints and early sedatives to manage behavior, not heal it. Residents were confined, not comforted. Overcrowding persisted, staffing was thin, privacy was minimal, and personal belongings, if ever they had any, were very scarce and few between. People died, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Between 1910 and 2010, records show 150 plus documented deaths, and eyewitness reports much, much more. Some were due to natural causes, illness, advanced age, chronic disabilities. Others were tragic. A man was found hanging from a janitor's closet doorknob, a room now notorious amongst investigators for oppressive energy and sudden drop in temperatures. There were reports and local lore of a resident drowning in a pool, another escaping only to be struck by a vehicle and killed before he could return. Like before, when residents died without family, they were buried on site, sometimes unrecorded, a majority of the time unrecorded. By the late 2000s, county's officials determined that the manor was unsafe and outdated, and in November 2010, it closed its doors forever. The remaining 36 residents, many coping with chronic mental illness, were suddenly, surprisingly, not surprisingly, relocated. But the building, its history, wasn't left empty. Personal belongings, medical files, furniture, slippers, and even appointment reminders were left behind, like a life paused mid-sentence. In 2011, new owners acquired the property with plans to renovate it, but unexpected events began almost immediately. Doors banged shut when no one was in the room, items shifting or disappearing, and one visitor reported a partner's foot being squeezed by an unseen force in the night. These experiences led the owners to allow paranormal investigators instead of renovation. And so Edinburgh's Manor entered the most haunted chapter yet. When the building started talking back, the manor came to life. Edinburgh's Manor wasn't just creepy. It was a living, breathing archive of suffering. Investigators, guests, and paranormal enthusiasts alike described experiences that are consistent, intelligent, and sometimes terrifyingly physical. In the basement is where you will feel the manor's full personality. Here lives the Joker, a tall, thin, malevolent entity with an impossibly wide, unsettling grin. Visitors often describe waves of nausea, dizziness, and sudden dread, almost as if the building is warning them away. When you're in the basement, sometimes it's been reported that objects like dishes, chairs, or even small furniture thrown without a cause. EMF spikes that literally short out cameras and paranormal meters. Stick figure shapes appearing on SLS cameras moving independently alone across the floor. Sudden crushing feelings of oppression, sometimes paired with phantom hands rippling at ankles and on shoulders. One paranormal investigator described the basement as like walking into a bad mood with a body. You can feel its intent pressing on you. Another reported that their partner's foot was pinched so hard by an unseen force that they nearly yelped in mid-session. Many locals that live near speculate that it might be the former resident who died by suicide in what is now the janitor's closet. Confined in a padded room, anger and resentment left lingering. Ding dong, you can't keep me waiting, it's already too late for you to try another way. I see you through the window. A playful spirit. Her name is Susie. Not all spirits are hostile. Susie, a little girl abandoned during the Great Depression, roams the first floor, particularly room 106, the manor's largest communal room. Experiences reported that they hear her singing, giggling, and skipping, sometimes racing down hallways in an invisible game. Objects like balls and dolls moving on purpose as if she's rolling a sense of the presence that is light, that's undeniably there, sometimes brushing past investigators or leaving a faint cold chill of trace on their skin. One paranormal team brought a small toy fire truck. By the next morning, it had moved to a completely different room, prompting everyone to pause and whisper, "She's showing off again." A woman in white. The woman in white is a daytime apparition. Unlike most other spirits at Edinburgh Manor, she often appears between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. on the second floor stair landing. Witness reports that a flowing white gown, long hair, and a distant, almost indifferent gaze appears at the top of stairs, vanishes the moment you focus on her. Sometimes visitors have seen a white mist hovering near the ceilings in the exact same area she had been spotted. Investigators theorize she may have been an abandoned patient, perhaps someone who died without a ceremony, her sadness looping endlessly. As beyond the named spirits, countless shadows figures haunt hallways, stairways, and bedrooms. Reports include a tall, thin figure disappearing around corners, shadows moving against the direction of light, apparitions interacting with environmental triggers such as footsteps following visitors, doors closing, lights flickering on and off, peripheral visions of people standing slightly to the left or to the right, just out of the corner of your eyes, and then vanishing when you look in their direction. One veteran investigator said, "It's like the house is aware of your eyes. You see them, they vanish. You ignore them, they're bolder." EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. Investigators often capture voices answering questions intelligently, sometimes interrupting sentences or repeating names of the people who haven't spoken yet. Music boxes often play an old eerie music sound in completely empty rooms and looping and fading without explanation. Chairs sliding silently, objects tugged away from shelves, doors opening and closing. Some guests have felt pressure on shoulders and backs without anyone behind them. Vehicles acting strangely, headlights flickering, batteries dying, and electronic windows going up and down on their own after they leave the manor. Lingering residual energy affecting the world around as they're driving away. Those are some things that have been reported when after people experience going through the tours and they experience it. That's what some people, most often people, are saying they've experienced. The ghosts aren't the worst part. The facility management company, Community Care Inc., was investigated for Medicaid fraud, and by 2013, management had been fired amid allegations of mismanaged funds. 3 employees at a sister facility were charged with sexual assault, raising questions about conditions and oversights at familiar institutions. Room 105 is cited by investigators as a site of intense negative activity, often described as a location of a brutal assault or severe distress. Stories passed through EVP recordings and investigators' testimony. Neglect, understaff, restraints, and silence became part of the routine, patterns that align with many reported hauntings. Today you can visit Edinburgh Manor at 13859 Edinburgh Road, Scotch Grove, Iowa. Tours cost about $10 each. Reservations required. Overnight investigations, they are allowed. Trust me, I'm going to go. I want to see this in real life, and then I'll do another video all about my experience, just because I just want to go. My husband and I have been talking about it, and we're going to go. Well, my beautiful nosy friends, There you have it, Edinburgh Manor, a place where the poor farm ghosts didn't get names, the walls absorbed centuries of sorrow, and some spirits apparently still haven't learned how to respect personal space. You got toddlers skipping between worlds, malevolent basement clowns, and enough EVP chatter to make your hair stand on end. Honestly, it's like the ultimate haunted Airbnb, only instead of a welcome mat, you get a chill in your spine and maybe a foot grab. So here's the tea. Straight and steaming hot. Straight and steaming hot. Ghosts, they're fine. They play, they stalk, they throw all your dishes. But accountability, that's the thing this place never got. And maybe that's why they stick around, whispering and laughing and reminding us that some histories never stay buried. So stay curious, stay caffeinated, and remember, whether it's the ones with no names or the ones who still roam the halls, everyone deserves a little attention and accountability. And if you go there yourself, don't forget your courage and maybe a friend with nerves of steel. Until next time, my ghoulish gossipers, keep sipping, keep snooping, and keep those paranormal receipts ready to go. Love you all. Thank you for visiting.